Hi, everybody. This is Adriana Paniagua here with the Good Boss. And today we have a spectacular talent. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm 3, 2, 1, bam.
Woo! Good to have you. So let's start this interview with who are you?
My name's Collin Moulton. I'm a comedian, nationally touring comedian, except for last year where I was a national virtual comedian.
Nice. But you made that change.
Yeah, I made the transition. I was like, all right, I'm going to get equipment. I'm going to do like a kind of like, so it looks like a multi-camera shoot and like a little like a special and give a better vibe. And embrace it a little bit. I feel like here's what I think, and I might be off on this, but I feel like when there's a seismic shift in business, the people that I know that are successful typically embrace it and try to get ahead of it and go to the next thing, and they embrace the change. They don't wait for it to go back. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of my peers wanted me to do the same, and they were like, "Oh, we can't wait to go live again. Do live shows again," and which I'm excited about doing. But I feel like this whole thing is like a new burgeoning field that like I want to be a part of. I kind of like I have little kids, so it's good to be home, and yeah, so it's good. I make money at
That's
my house, and I've
yeah.
never really done that before, so it's
That's
good.
great. And how do you think that changed? Like it was easy for you or hard? Like what's your message on that change?
Oh, there's a learning curve for sure. There's a learning curve, but you just got to go for it. And just like anything else, when you do stand up or you're an entertainer of any kind, there's a learning curve to all that. So if you're Man, I mean, as a stand-up, I spent 6, maybe 7 years living in a car, and like, I spent Easters at I spent 2 Easters in a row at truck stops playing penny slots in some weird little town that is not weird to the people there, but there's only 12 of them. So it's like that. And you go through that gauntlet, and there's a learning curve. So you go out there and you navigate, and then eventually you figure out what you don't want to do, what you do want to do, and you kind of put together based on what you imagined in the first place, and you find out what's possible, what's not, and then you do what you do, and so just like I think starting with the virtual thing is like applying all that knowledge of what stand up is or performance, and then applying it to this all these new variables. There's so many variables. Like before this meeting, you were talking about the earpod thing. I've seen that happen to performers where their earpods they want a Bluetooth connect to a different device during the show and stuff. So there's certain things like parameters I've learned, like I can't use any Bluetooth stuff. I can't my settings. I have to like I do a run through on my own before every show just to make sure that my equipment's all correct and everything. Cause you could easily just like leave a button unpushed and now you have no audio, and it's a little different than live in that way. But once you get all the kind of your procedure down, you mitigate a lot of the mishaps.
Exactly. Yon, it's incredible
That
because like I can imagine how people that for me it's very easy like to learn technology and the computer and everything, but I don't imagine people that really have never been on virtual computer. It's really hard to get that change.
Right. Yeah. Younger people, man, it's easy. They're just like, oh yeah, you just do this, you do that. And then I'm kind of in the middle. I'm 50, but I think in my generation of people, we had a lot of technology kind of coming at us when we were growing as adults. And so we were constantly trying to, I guess, early adopt or create our own stuff in some cases. But as a result, we have that kind of open mind to that. But just a few years older than me, and man, I mean, there's a real blind spot. And
Yeah.
and I've seen it really. I mean, it's sad. It's actually a bummer because a lot of people with a lot to offer can't even connect, which is really odd.
That's true.
Yeah.
And talking about change, I saw that you moved from LA to Georgia.
Yeah, man. I don't have to tell you about moving Nicaragua, but it's incredible to like reinvigorate your life with like, so that's another actual connection to technology that we were talking about, where I just started looking at the landscape really critically. I was living in Los Angeles for years as a stand-up and trying to break into the industry in different ways, and like and having some success and some not, and then the whole time I have a family and I'm living a life, and it's expensive and it's really arduous, and we're sacrificing a lot. And then I realized I can do this from anywhere now. Like the platforms, the social media platforms, just the way people were accepting submissions for things. I was literally living 10 miles north of LA, and I would not even go into anybody's office for weeks at a time sometimes because they just wanted a digital submission. And I was like, all right, well, now I don't have to live here. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So then we pinned the map and chose a place we thought would be cool that had a lot of like history. And so I moved to Georgia, and you know, I think the more you move around, the more you become connected to all the people you meet. Because if you stay in one place, you tend to get a mindset, and then there's an us and them feeling about people you don't know. But if you move to different places, you start to become more integrated. You feel like there's more of a national or global world, and you can communicate with anybody. So it informed a lot of what I do. It informed a lot about how I feel, my kids and their education, not just learning history in a place where it has history, but like learning how to interact with people who didn't grow up the same way as you or have a different sounding voice, and but like not just a few, but like all of them. So that's all. And that's like a life education you can't just go get unless you go immerse yourself. It's immersion, right?
Yeah. No,
I
that's
imagine you
amazing.
learned English at a young age. Did you learn English at a young age?
Yes, I know Spanish, English, and a little bit of Italian.
You speak Spanish? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
So yeah, you learned English at a young age, and so what you probably may have not known at the time, or maybe you did, is that the real way you learned was immersion. So like on paper you learn it, but interacting is the only way, right? So I feel like that's how we learn everything. Not just language, but language is like almost like an analogy for interrelation of any kind, whether it's, just interpersonal relation, whether you're talking to somebody, getting to know them, being there for them when they're hurt or sad or whatever. We learn about each other through immersion.
That's true. And what is something that you tried in LA and then you didn't have to try in Georgia, or something that says, oh, this is from Georgia and this is from LA?
Food's different. Yeah, so like LA, everybody's like very concerned about health and all this, and then here it's like if you don't have like a disciplined way of looking at nutrition, you can slip into an abyss of fried food and just comfort foods and like all that, because it's just going to happen. It's all around you. And also I live on the coast, so I live on an island, and there's a lot of drinking on any island. So you have to have like you have to have your own limits and set your own parameters.
So I have to behave when I get to Georgia.
You have to have self-discipline. Yeah, you got to have your own self-discipline. You can't depend on the world around you. Like in LA, it's like to be cool, you're a certain way, and it's actually kind of a good lifestyle. It's like a healthy lifestyle. But here, it's like if you have a healthy lifestyle, people are like, "What are you trying to prove, man?" Kinda,
Oh, that's amazing. And I think if I see you on the street, I have to be careful with you. Because
why do you say that?
I noticed that you do jiu-jitsu, right?
Jiu-jitsu, yeah. Do you have jiu-jitsu in Nicaragua? It's right around the corner in Brazil. There's a lot of it.
So I have to be careful not to get a fight with you on the street.
Yeah, no. I think most jiu-jitsu people don't really fight anyway. We're like, no. The whole idea is not, yeah. But no, who I would want to avoid is people who don't have jiu-jitsu, because those are the people with something to prove, But like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I've been training that for 15 years, and it's all kind of you kind of work out all your demons right there. It's live, it's real, you're rolling. It's like a real martial art. I trained Kung Fu and different things when I was younger, and Kenpo, and it was more hypotheticals and things like that. But with jiu-jitsu, it's just like you're in it, you're doing it. So you just kind of like break all those weird hangups that you have, or, and also fears. I think for women and children, I believe that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like an amazing art for them, because have you ever been to a women's self-defense course and you're like, so I do this and I do, it's like a 6-hour course, and you have to like, if he does this, then you do this. And the problem is, in a conflict, you're never going to work all those details out.
Yeah.
and then somebody rushes somebody else and then it's over. Now you're grappling. So knowing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, knowing how to carry somebody's weight, move their weight, change their base, off balance them, take a top position, get out, hurt them, and move, is all something that a woman or a weaker, smaller person has to know. So and then also more importantly, I think for children, um the feeling of having another kid on you and like like while you're rolling and like they're kind of smothering you and the weight of their body and and obviously the gi, the pajamas, like covering your mouth, you can't really breathe, it's hot. um at first they panic a little, like kids will panic, well, people, adults too, but mainly kids, they don't know, they don't know what their limits are, they don't know what they can take, and then they find out like early, and as a kid, as a young person, they now know like, oh, I'm not going to die here. So they lose all these fears that we grew up with, and so it can create immense confidence for a kid or a smaller person, a woman, and a man.
No, that's
So then
amazing. I
a
think it's very
confident person
important. Like,
isn't going to
it
fight you in the
helps
street.
you get all the stress out, so on the street you're less probable to fight.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not only, I mean, maybe you have, the world's stressful, so maybe you have stress, but at least you're confident. You don't want to engage that way. You already know all that. Yeah, you don't need to. You just don't need that kind of conflict. Plus, you start to understand that the more you learn about fighting, I think, the more you learn that anything can happen. So, the least trained person ever could potentially hurt you horribly badly. Just even by accident, and win a fight, in the street. So street
Yeah.
fighting is like just the most horrifically dangerous thing that no martial artist really wants to be involved in that. Or, well, unless he's fighting someone who also is a martial artist, and that happens now more because there's a lot of people training. And I
Yeah.
think it's gone back to that kind of, this isn't gender specific, but a gentleman's agreement of, hey, we're not pulling knives.
Yeah.
we're just
So
gonna,
it's
we're just gonna
important
see what we can do
because,
here.
for example, in my case, I love Muay Thai and
Oh,
kickboxing.
you
Like,
like that? You like
I
knees and
love
elbows and like, oh,
it.
you're vicious. You want to cut people up when you're
Hook,
pointing.
hook.
Yeah, fair. You're a
But yeah, that's
striker, huh?
amazing. And Collins, all about in Good Boss is about giving back to community. So, which is a nonprofit cause that you're identified with?
So when I moved here, this is a cool place, Savannah, Georgia, the islands of Georgia, the Barrier Islands of Georgia. It's very connected to like local nonprofits. So when I moved here, I started this thing called barefootcomedy.com, and I started doing nonprofit events, fundraising events, for local nonprofits, no larger ones, just locals. And I got connected with Oatland Island Wildlife Center, and I started raising money for them. And at a show, we did these auctions, and we would give all the money to them, and then we would do other local nonprofits. But I started connecting really deeply with them. Every Tuesday, I go with my daughter to the Toddler Tuesdays, and they have all these great animals that they've
Wow.
rescued and they care for. But the interesting thing is that as I looked back, I had lived in Athens, Georgia when I was a little kid for a couple of years, and my Montessori school teachers brought me down uh, to Oatland Island Wildlife Center when I was a little kid, and I found that out after I'd already like connected with them. I sort of put it all together, and I asked my Montessori school teachers from back then. They're a couple who live in Athens, and they're amazing people. And I asked them, I said, do we go to Oatland Island? She goes, yeah, we went every year. And we still do that with the students. And I was like, oh, I've been here. I had been there 40 years ago.
I knew
Yeah,
it.
it was so cool. I felt connected to them, but I've had moments like that where I felt connected to something and I didn't know why. My favorite story like that was in Madison, Wisconsin. The owner of the comedy club there was a Greek guy named Gus, just a real character. And I don't know if you know Greek people, but they're loving, family oriented, and he was just incredible. When we met, it was just on. We had this like kind of like father son bromance thing going. It was just like natural. We are like, he would, tussle my hair, and he called me his other son. And whenever I would come visit and play his club, that's how it felt. And then my mom's best friend from when I was a little kid in Madison shows up to one of my shows, and she says, "Hey, Gus," and I'm like, "You know Susan?" And Susan's like, "Yeah, you know Gus," and or yeah, I know Gus. And she goes, "I know Gus. You know Gus?" And I go, "Yeah, I know. I work here." She goes, "No, you knew Gus when you were a little kid. I used to bring
Wow.
you to restaurants when you were 7, and he would sit and color with you and hang out with you at the table, and you loved him." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I had known him that long and had no idea. I only thought I knew him through comedy, and he didn't know either. He didn't know I was that little kid." Isn't that wild?
Wow. Yeah, that's
I love
amazing.
that kind of
It's
thing.
like
I think we're connected in these ways we just can't measure and we don't know, and we feel that in a way that isn't like on paper. There's no language for it. It's like a sense that we haven't developed fully, so we have no word for that sense, but it's a way that we relate. And if you stay in tune with that, you have the richest life, you know.
yeah, that's true. Sometimes it happens that I have a dream or there's something reality and I don't know if what's a dream or it actually happened.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah, it's like a feeling.
Yeah, it's incredible. And Colin, it was so amazing to have you. Like, I feel so energetic. But before I leave, I had to enjoy your show and you had to give me your best joke ever.
Best joke? Oh man, I don't know about best joke. I have a new story. You want to hear that? I got
Okay,
my
I'll hear
vaccine. I
it.
got my vaccine recently, and we pulled up to the little it was like in a parking lot. That's where you want to get medical procedures, is in a parking lot of an airport. So we pull up, my wife and I. I have 3 kids, so getting vaccines is a date. So for us, so we pull up in the van, and we have a sitter, you know, so we're hanging out with our coffee, and we pull up, and there was you know, the National Guard's kind of running things, so they have all these people at the posts, you know, where you go, and so we pull up, and and the guy says, "Okay, you're here for the vaccine." We said, "Yeah," and he goes, "You know, you're getting the Vasa." And I said, the what? The Vasa vaccine. It's not the Johnson and Johnson." And we're like, "Oh, okay. Well, what's Vasa?" And he goes, "That's just a brand." And I'm like, "Okay." I go, "I've never heard of that." My wife got real, because I'll just usually go with whatever. But my wife is like, "No, no, wait, we're not getting what is Vasa?" And he goes, "It's a vaccine, but it's like not the Moderna or the." She goes, "Do you mean Pfizer?" And he goes, "Oh man, I've been trying to get that right all day." So apparently the other 100 people ahead of us didn't correct him. So they just thought they were getting some off-brand Walmart vaccine, and they were cool with that. So, so then she says, "Well, is it a 1 shot or a 2 shot?" And he goes, "Yeah, is it a 1 shot?" And he goes, or no, she says, "Oh, that's the 2 shot." And he goes, No, it's just 1 shot." She goes, "Oh, it's Pfizer has a 1 shot." And he goes, "Yep, just 1 shot. And then 21 days from now, you'll get another 1 shot." So it's just the 1 shot now and then the 1 shot. So it's just 2 1 shots. So we're
Oh
like,
my
all right, well, I guess when you join the military to get an education, they don't give you the education first, which is cool. So, so thank you for your service. And they couldn't have been more cool. And they were like, you know, but he was like, "Thanks for reminding me of that Pfizer thing."
oh my God.
Yeah, man. So it's an experience. This whole world we're in now, it's like we're doing all, you know, everything's new.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. Everything we have to adapt. At the end, we have to adapt, we have to learn and keep going.
My favorite line from my act would have to be, you ever walk in a garage sale and realize it's not a garage sale at all, just a dude sitting in his garage reading the paper? That's happened to me twice in real life, and I didn't catch on right away. The guy was like, "Can I help you?" He was like, "Nah, I'm just looking." So yeah, I'm gonna look around. Yeah.
No, but thank you so much, Colleen. It was a pleasure to have you, and I hope to see you again.
It was my pleasure, Adriana. And can we go out on Spanish?
Yeah, of course. Do you speak
Hasta
Spanish?
luego. Okay.
Hasta luego.
And
Muchas
I'm going to use a little
gracias.
Portuguese. Até mais.
Ciao, little
Ciao.
Italiano.
Yeah.